music.
All right, what's good? Back with another episode of the Major Music Lounge podcast. It's your host D Dot, and today we're actually going to have on Big Eleanor Records. The founder Danny Nono is going to come on to talk about the label, some of the artists that he's been working with, and more. So. If this is your first time tuning into the Major Music Lounge podcast, I like to talk to other music creators or music industry professionals about their journey in the music industry. Kind of like we're doing today, we also had on like other music managers that manages other artists and producers. For example, we've had on music production app developers that creates apps on the iPad. Shout out to Matthew Fetcher of Audio Kit. But yeah, he came on the show maybe like 2 years ago to talk about some of the work that they were doing with Audio Kit. Now, if you're an artist or a producer looking to get on the Major Music Lounge podcast, best way to contact me is going to be through one of my socials. It's going to be d._major music on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. Or if you're on Twitter, X is going to be d.mme. And going forward, this is just an announcement in regards to the Major Music Lounge podcast. But for any guests that are wanting to come on the podcast, there is a $10 fee to get on the podcast. And all that is for is to secure your spot on the podcast. Lately, and this has pretty much been happening for the better part of the last year or so. But a lot of times we get guests booked and they agree to come on the podcast in addition to they agree with the date and the time. And, you know, anybody that's been on a podcast knows how I operate. I usually hit you up the day before just to see if we're still on for the podcast. And in a lot of those cases, the same artists or producers, they're agreeing and saying, yes, I'm going to be available for the podcast. And the day gets there and they don't show up. So that's why I've started a $10 charge for any guests that want to be on the Major Music Lounge podcast, which, again, that is going to lock in your spot for an interview on here. So that way we can make sure that anybody reaching out or, vice versa, if I'm reaching out to anybody else as well, that, more than likely they're going to be on barring any type of like emergency or whatever. For that information, you could actually, whenever you hit me up on any one of those socials, I'll give you either like my Apple Pay or my Cash App information, even like PayPal, for example. But yes, going forward, for the Major Music Lounge podcast, there will be a $10 charge to reserve your spot for an interview. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get into the interview with Big Eleanor Records. We are back with the Major Music Lounge podcast, actually going to be with the founder now of Eleanor Records, Danny Nono. Glad to have you on, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is Danny Nono, Big Eleanor Records. Yeah, thank you for sharing your space with me.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Getting in contact with you when you reached out, maybe like a week or two ago, knowing that you've been on Anthony Church's podcast before and did some work with him, that's always a good sign. And, I definitely appreciate you hitting me once again. Cause that's my guy, Anthony Church. Yeah.
Shout out. Yeah, he shared his podcasting platform with me not too long ago. So yeah, shout out to him.
He was actually on here maybe like 3 or 4 shows ago. But he was on here recently again. Now, with that said, looking at a lot of your material, going to the website, how long have you been operating as Big Eleanor Records? And, I kind of read some of what you had on the website, but for our listeners, what made you want to start the label?
Yeah. So Big Eleanor Records originated in 2021. So we're on year 5 right now.
Uh,
Um, I started it out of being inspired by others who kind of went the DIY indie route. I was a punk rock drummer at the time. So in the process of writing and recording my own band's music, I learned a lot about the behind the scenes, whether it be the studio or the cover art or the promotion or any aspect of things that involve more than just being in the band. And the more I did that, not only did I enjoy it, I had success doing it. So I just kind of, went from being this punk rock drummer to kind of figuring out how I can start, promoting my own stuff and releasing my own stuff. And then in that made me want to, go over to the hip hop side of things as well, because at that time and leading up, I was more inspired by hip hop than anything. And to this day, hip hop still saves my life every day. So I just needed to find a way to use my powers and my abilities to give back in that world as well, because I feel like I was given so much.
sure.
So 5 years in, and we're making more strides in the hip hop underground more than anything.
Sure, sure. That's pretty impressive going for from 5 years of Big Eleanor Records, and then
Yeah.
even with the it's a big difference as far as going from that punk rock sound to that hip hop sound. Now,
Mhm.
with that said, do you still are you still like more involved with the actual creative process, or do you strictly like just run the label?
Yeah, so I do. I am involved a little bit more in the creative process than I would say a normal label head would be, or what you would expect. So yeah, I am involved a lot in the creative process, whether it be, figuring out song structures or literal sense like that, or the creative side as far as like themes and subject matter to tackle and stuff like that.
Sure.
A lot of the stuff that I'm not as hands-on in the day-to-day of the creative parts. Like I'm not writing drum parts, I'm not writing lyrics and stuff, but I'm like kind of helping with the big picture. So I'm kind of like overhead looking at the whole project and kind of helping direct, these guys on like these individual parts so they can be on the ground floor moving their hands while I'm kind of big picture checking it all out.
Yeah, kind of like it almost sounds like an executive producer.
Yeah, it's
That.
executive producer. I feel like if I were to be credited with something, it probably would be that, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And now having a label, and I've been a part of several labels as I've been a music creator for about 20 years now, as far as like in the music production and artist space. But with that said, like, what have you learned along the way? Because like working with a label or just a clique or whatever you want to call it, you got people with different personalities. Got to be able to manage your time in between everybody. You may have that one person who sees themselves kind of in the forefront of things
Sure.
versus
Yeah.
being in the background. So what's that all been like?
Yeah, it's been fun navigating other people's creative processes because, like you just said, this guy's process doesn't mean this guy will have success doing the same thing. So it's like I have to kind of be, malleable and kind of like adaptive to all that. So that's been fun kind of seeing. For example, the one guy, he likes to write everything before when we go to the studio. He's got 7 songs worth of lyrics ready to go in place, and the other guy just wants to go to the studio to create. So it's like literally polar opposites. Like he's not going to have the lyrics written, he's going to have the beat ready and a rough idea, and then kind of write it out in the studio. So literally going from one side to the other. One thing I learned is there's no biases. Like I can't hold any bias. I like just because this person's creative process is not the same as mine doesn't mean it's not successful, doesn't mean it won't have just as great or valuable results. So that's been like fun to navigate because I also, as a creative, have my processes. So like I can look at how someone else does and be like, that's not the right way.
Yeah.
But again, if their results are there, who am I to say whose process is better or worse or more valuable? So that's been fun to navigate. And then you learn that like again, it's not about you. It's about kind of the whole. Like it's about the collective, and then when you zoom out even more, it's just about pure creativity or music. So it's like the more people you work with, the less that when I say that your opinion doesn't matter, I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just like, okay, like it's just about what's the best for the team, what's the best for the music, what's the best for this. So it just like it allows you to really have to drop biases because now there's four people with four great ideas. So the chance of you having the best idea every time is very small. So it's just kind of like, there's no feelings in music, there's no emotions in like the creative process of making music. So it's like you really get tested with that.
And like, with a lot of that said, like, did you know a lot of the artists that are on a label prior to starting it, or have you kind of met them along the way?
Yeah, so there's three artists on the label currently. The one gentleman I reached out within a week of starting the label because I found his music on Bandcamp and wanted to work with him. So I didn't have any prior relationship. The other two, we've done shows and kind of like knew of each other for like years almost, leading up. Like I was a fan of them before, where the other gentleman, I kind of saw his project, immediately reached out and built that. So a little mixture of both.
Yeah, I could kind of see that, like, and from other like people that I've interviewed in the past, sometimes they may start the labels with friends, but
Mhm.
maybe over time they may, sometimes it does work out, but I've also seen other times where like doing business with friends can be a little difficult at times.
Yeah,
But then on the flip side, like with that being said, if it's somebody that you met along the way, I think they'll be more likely to be receptive to getting feedback when they're
yeah.
creating. As to where a friend, they might think, in the mindset, oh, he's hating, or everything that I do, he doesn't like. So there's a fine line, working as a label.
It is, and it is a dynamic like as a label on such the starting level that I like experienced. It is fortunately I'm with people who respect the dynamic, but when there's no money involved or there's not big things happening, it's tough for one grown human to listen to another grown up like they're their boss or they're their parent. Like you know what I mean? So fortunately I've been with people who really respect the, manager dynamic or the dynamic that comes with this territory, but that was one thing to like really we had to sit and like before we could really start building. It's like, all right, this is the dynamic that works best for us. Obviously, I'm the manager, but like, there's no money coming in. So who am I to tell anyone what to do?
Yeah.
I'm not writing checks. So it's like, how do we figure out a way for me to still push you without overstepping my boundaries of this friendship, non paying managerial role? So that was like, even though we weren't friends, it was still establishing some form of like, there is some legitimacy behind what we're doing, even though there's not the money or the big time shows or the looks yet. We still have to treat it this seriously before anyone else will.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of times when you give like specific feedback or insight about maybe something within the creative process, I think whether that person's your friend or not, a lot of times, as long as it's about that and not anything personal, they'll
Yeah.
take that a lot better than maybe somebody else would.
And it's tough because it's like it's one thing like I did go out my way to build my resume before I started telling them what to do. So it's like before I ask them to do anything, I've already done it before. Like, hey, I need you to try this process or go to a store and try to get your stuff in the maybe cold sale your stuff to a record store. Like literally any part of the process I've already tried before I even could think about asking anyone else to do. And
Yeah.
that kind of helped in that to alleviate some of that pressure. It's like, well, Dan has done this already, or has tried this, or looked like a fool doing this, so I will try it. Or it's not. Yeah, we will also treat it with that legitimacy as well.
And I like that as well because like I think in any like walk of life, the person that did it, that's who I want to get feedback from, somebody who has that
Exactly,
experience. It's
exactly. Because
like, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say because either they did it right and you want to hear about it, or they did it wrong and you don't want to do what they did. Either way, you want to hear what they have to say because you can take value from it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and
you
that's
could,
what I value just throughout my big inspirations and the people who motivate me are the people who just like they just put their hard hat on and just go do the job. It's like, oh, as soon as you determine what is needed done, they don't ask, they don't try to ask someone else, they just like, all right, put their hard hat on and just go do it. And
Yeah.
then, you figure it out after and all that. And those have been the people who kind of been inspiring to me, and how I like to approach things is just like, all right, we've never done this before. Ready, set, go. Like,
And it's kind of like, being a mentor to some degree to the
Mhm.
artist. And, kind of like I was saying earlier, maybe like when it comes to even like sports, I'd rather, if somebody had played basketball, I'm listening to what they said about
Mhm.
their career. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah,
That's
type of
it.
thing.
And there's a reason why, like, when people are building sports teams, even if a veteran's in their very last year and don't have much to contribute, they are so much valuable to a team that is on the cusp of winning. Like, they don't bring in like these new young guys to, put up mad points. They're like, all right, we need a veteran presence. So there's a reason why there's still, I mean, there's so much value in just going through it.
That wisdom.
Hmm.
With that
Uh,
said,
yeah.
um, what is it that you look for in an artist that you'd like to work with?
Yeah. And that's a good question. That's a question that I love answering, and I always like kind of like think about myself. Because I'm past the point of finding people who like I personally like or whatever. I have artists who I like their music. It's not a problem of finding art, but I like people who are fearless in their approach to creating. I like people who like to be challenged. I like people who challenge themselves. So if somebody put out an album that sounds like this and is about this, the first thing I'm going to ask about their next album is how do we take it over in this direction? And if they're afraid to kind of like even think about considering things like that, we might kind of butt heads during the creative process.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of just like if you're unafraid to challenge your own thoughts and your own creative process and your own themes and really like try to push what you can even expect from yourself. That's what I look for.
Yeah,
Um,
and that kind of goes back in a way to like our last topic about wanting to get that feedback. And I think, as far as like being ahead of a label and working with different artists, you're able to provide that insight and help them get better. Because I think that that's the thing that a lot of music and the way that it's being created now in 2026 is there's a lot of people doing it at home
mhm.
alone, and maybe they got a homeboy that comes in and chills out and
Sure.
record, but like you gotta want to be able to grow as an artist and learn how to do some different things. And who knows, like it might be somebody that's working in a group now that's taking all this knowledge, and later down the line maybe they're working independent and they can use a lot of what they learned along the way.
And there's a lot of because it's like you can sense when someone really just loves music, is a lifer in this. And I feel like, with the people I'm working with, like we're all lifers in this. Like we're in this for life. Like we not only are here to create for life, like we love music, like we just live and breathe this stuff. So it's when you have people who you can get that sense from, then you can always value where they're coming from. You may not see the vision, but it's like at least you know that there's so much behind it that's equal to your vision. It's like, okay, like I might not agree with it, but I know this person lives and breathes this music stuff. So I know that it's not the wrong answer, it just might not be my answer. And fortunately enough, with the four of us, including myself and the three artists, we have four different favorite artists. So it's like when we all come to this creative talk, it's like literally everyone's bringing so many different perspectives, and it's beautiful. Because again, there's the respect of valuing everyone's perspective because we love this stuff, and then it's just like, all right, well, what should we write about? And then four different ideas all come to the table, and then we're able to kind of pick apart and make one big idea or one big decision based on four perspectives.
Now, is it just artists that are on a label, or do you also have producers that you work with?
Yeah, it's just the three hip hop artists that I work with. So no producers or nothing right now, just the three artists.
All right. Now, that said, like, as far as the production for the albums, is this something maybe like y'all sit down together and think about the type of vibe that you want, or maybe like do they go to like I don't know BeatStars or whatever website and
Yeah.
take a listen and purchase online? Like, how does that process?
Yeah, a little bit of both. We have some producers that we frequent, and then we like to challenge them. So we'll come up with like a concept or a song idea, and then we'll go to them and be like, "Hey, this is the inspiration, this is the theme, this is the mood. Hit us with something that kind of fits that." And then, some of these producers will hit us back. Fortunately enough for one of our artists does production as well, so he's able to handle some production throughout the process as well, which is cool to kind of keep this like good, consistent sound between us. Um, but yeah, a lot, it's a lot of. It used to be we'll find beats in random spots and then start compiling them so it like sounds like a cohesive project. But now we kind of turn to knowing what we want before we even get beats, and then approaching producers and saying, "Hey, we need 7 beats that sound like we're in space," and da 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 da. So, and then we'll challenge producers that way.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. Like having somebody that's in house, but also having the flexibility
Mhm.
of being able to go to like a BeatStars or even discovering somebody on
Yeah.
YouTube that you want to work with. Because there's so many places now, that you can get beats from. But also with that, there's not a lot of quality producers out there.
Well, it's just everyone can rap, anybody can produce. Like Radiohead had a song in the 90s called Everyone Can Play Guitar, and that was when the whole grunge phase was happening and everyone wanted to play guitar and everyone started a grunge band, and that's what it is now. Everybody can rap. Everybody can produce. Like, and I love it because I love hip hop. I love the point of hip hop was to include as many people as possible. It's like the first production was people stomping and clapping their hands. So it's like I can't be exclusive in this stuff, but it's like you said, sometimes the quality does suffer because now the average, like the grade average or the learning curve is lower now. So it's like if we're taking a test and you get a 70, it's going to look higher than it used to in the 80s, 90s, or 2000s. Whereas like there was no room for anything. It was just like you, if you're not the best of the best, like there's no room for you. Now it's just like there's room for everybody, which is cool, but also, double-edged sword of what you were saying with like quality.
Yeah, gotta find that own lane to go in
Mhm.
musically. Now, do y'all go out to an external like or a standalone studio, or do y'all have like an in-house studio?
Yeah, so the one gentleman, he's from DC. He comes up to Lancaster. We have a studio in here that we've been using for basically since me and him been working. So 5 years, we have a studio up here. The other gentleman, Adrian, on the label, who can make beats, he also records. So he'll record all of his stuff, mix and master his own stuff. He makes his own beats, writes his own rhymes, mixes and masters his own stuff out of his area. And then the other gentleman will go up and record with Adrian as well.
Yeah,
It's cool because it was like since me and Shaw were working for a couple years, like it was kind of me and him, and then the other two artists were working together, kind of as like making music, and then we all just kind
brought
of
it
formed. So
together.
those two kind of will break off, and like I'm a part of their process, but they're like a little bit more of their own contained between them two, and then me and Shaw will come over here and make his albums, and
Yeah,
then we all get together with just like completed work.
yeah, that's pretty dope. Having I like having a home studio for one because when those ideas hit, you can get right to it.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I also like going to outside studios as well, just to like get another space to create. Sometimes
Yeah.
it just hits me differently when I'm not creating here in the lab versus somewhere else.
It does. It really does. And it's just like even the one place we record at, like they have a studio with like nice equipment, whatever. And then the one gentleman can do some editing and stuff at his own house. And even just going to his house as opposed to being in my own area, just it gives this like more sense of like you're at the office. It's just like same thing. Like even if you have your own job and work from home, like you should still go somewhere and find your own contained area to work because it's just like you go to work every day. You gotta, you know what I mean? You pack your lunch and you go to work. And if you do that, you're gonna work. Uh, so yeah, I like going to the studio a little bit more than like going to that home because I'm a little bit more intense, so it's just
Yeah,
like I'm go to work. Like I want to put on the hard hat, tie up my boots, pack my peanut butter and jelly, and go to work. And that's kind of what the studio is. Is like you're there for 8 hours and get everything done you can. Like you're here to work, so like put your head down. So I like the studio a little more. But yeah, it's fun. Him having his own at home. Like right now, the one gentleman they're up there they're up there recording something right now. So it's cool to have that flexibility as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, there's pros and cons to definitely both. The thing I like though about the external studio or outside studio is like and you kind of hit it. You got a limited amount of time. You paid for
Mhm.
2, 3, 4 hours, whatever the case may
Yep.
be, and you got to get it done within that. And that kind of reminds me of like I used to do these producer challenges that you have to make a certain type of beat in a certain amount of time, or
Sure.
even like you couldn't use certain plugins. You have to use just stock sounds to create. So
Yeah.
I like creating sometimes with less or limitations, and sometimes you get your best work out.
Yeah. I like the it I it's again it's cool that everyone can make music at home and it has that the ability to do that, and it kind of leans towards what we were talking about as far as like everyone can rap, everyone, because it gives the ability to do that. I like the pressure part of the process or the creative process, because it's like that's when like really it's like, all right, if everyone only had 6 hours to make a song, like now let's see who is the best
Who is the
artist, because
best
you can
at it?
just sit at your home and or if, like, you know what I mean. So it's like that's why I like that, because it's like, all right, like we're really like gonna put it to the test where it's like, all right, we got 3 hours. I dare another person to go in the studio and make better stuff in 3 hours. Like I really like challenging myself in that way.
So, kind of going back to like talking about like interviews and with some of the artists. Now, one of the things that I encourage any independent, in fact, that's why I started this platform, is for independent artists and producers. But one of the things that I've kind of discovered also over the years is there are some artists and producers that they don't enjoy doing interviews, or they might be
Yeah.
camera shy, or whatever the case may be. Like what or I think it's important because the listeners or viewers can get a different perspective from the
Hmm.
artist besides just hearing their music, and it's something that might be relatable to somebody that's watching the podcast. And then on top of that, I feel like the more podcasts or interviews that you do, not necessarily podcasts, but you could still do like website or
Yeah.
blog interviews. Each time you do one, you're going to get better and better. If you were,
Hmm.
maybe you're not a good talker initially, but you start being able to talk, and
Hmm.
even having some guests on here, like there's sometimes I'm talking to somebody, I get a one word answer. And I mean, we've been chatting almost 30 minutes now, but like sometimes I only say that because sometimes those interviews might be 10 to 15 minutes because they
Yeah,
don't say
yeah, just
much.
real quick. Yeah, you can tell kind of who's, and that's one thing too. It's like because I like this. Like I like interviews. I like job interviews. Like I
Yeah,
like this stuff. Like, and I'll talk about, like, give me a reason to talk shit every day and I'll do it. So it's like you know what I mean? Like I'm
yeah,
here.
yeah,
Though some of the artists I work with, like they're a little more they like to just be to themselves. Like they just want to be reserved, but they understand the value, and like you said, it's like, do you want your first interview ever to be in Rolling Stone where you don't even know how to talk and you don't know what you're looking like? Or it's like, do we want to get it done now? Like same with live shows. Like some of like the one artist, it's like before we did any live shows together, he was doing open mics for months, because I was like, do you want your first live show to be on a stage in front of people where you don't know what you're doing? Or do you want your first live show to be in a room where no one even knows your name and it doesn't even matter and the stakes are low? So it's like kind of the same thing. It's like, let's get all these, and it's not to like devalue, smaller publications or nothing like that, because there is extreme value in that right now where we're at in our build. But it's like one of those things. It's like you don't want your first interview to be, you know, TMZ. Like,
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like, you don't want to be like the biggest publication ever. And I know that's like the furthest extreme. So it's like, yeah. And it gives a chance, because I feel like there's a lot of detail in our art that may go over the head of the listener, unless like we literally say, hey, did you listen to what happened in this 1 second here? Because what
Yeah.
we said here referenced an album that we made 2 years in the future. And if I didn't say that, you wouldn't even know. So it's just like, if you heard the like, so I do like I do like the attention to detail and the ability to express it. But no, I agree. It's like, Get all your goofiness,
Yeah,
get your awkwardness out now. Let's experiment with what it's like wearing different outfits. Let's experiment with all this stuff now because, yeah, you don't want to embarrass yourself in front of a lot of
yeah,
people.
yeah. They have no idea. Like for me, I think being the host is harder than being the guest.
No,
Uh,
I fully agree. I can completely understand that. Because I was just like, because there's times where I'm like, man, I would like love to just sit down and interview and have just like a sit down interview with some of the people that I know, and it's just like, damn, that means I have to think of an hour's worth of conversation. Like, oh, that's way more difficult than people really think it is. Because it's obviously you can just ask like the hi, how are you, where are you
yeah,
from, but it's like you want to like ask somewhat engaging questions too. So
yeah.
there's a little behind it. No, I understand. People don't realize how hard it is to actually talk to people until you tell them, hey, go talk to a stranger for an hour. Like you know what I mean? Like tell someone to go talk to a stranger on the street for an hour, and they're not going to be able to do it.
It's something, man. Like, cause I'm a very, and most people probably wouldn't know it from watching or listening to this, but I'm a very introverted person, and
Sure.
um, to be honest, it was like I would say a combination. I did a previous radio show that kind of got me ready for this, but also in my everyday job, I do a lot of public speaking, so that's how it
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
I got comfortable doing these interviews.
Yeah, and well, okay, so public speak. So then this kind of is just like right up the alley of
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that's what I think. Me personally, like, got me more and more comfortable because sometimes I'll go back. I mean, you mentioned y'all started in 2021
Mm.
with making music. I started a podcast in 2020, and I'll go back and look at some of my early shows in comparison to now, and it's a big difference.
Yeah, yeah, I do love going back and listening to some of my old interviews and some of like just some of that. Because it's like you'll see like because obviously like what your intentions were and where you were headed, so it doesn't seem as raw. And then you go back and look, and you're just like, oh, like I didn't express myself how I thought I was, or oh, I kind of sounded a little underdeveloped there, even though you knew what you meant, and you're even saying it probably the same. Like you're probably still echoing a lot of the same sentiments as you were then, but it's just like now it's so much more
Yeah.
developed that it is funny to like listen to old interviews. I go back and listen. I'm just like, yo, like you should have thought about that a little more before you said it out loud.
Could have said this, could have said that.
Yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, but it's cool too to go back and be like, oh, you really were saying some shit back then too. Like, oh, like you did predict some stuff too. Like, oh, what you said was going to happen actually did happen. Good job.
Um, Artists, producers, do more interviews. Do more.
No, it's good, especially on this small scale. It's like there's so many platforms that are looking for people to interview, people to meet. So it's just like improve your virtual footprint. Just improve your virtual footprint. When people Google your name, you want as many landing spots as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. So, what else, as far as like plans for Eleanor Records, do you have for 2026? Because we're about to hit the summertime, and I know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big time for music.
Yeah, so everyone's been working really hard on their next releases. We all got a lot of music turned in. Everyone's got it, Shaw got 6 songs ready to go. Adrian has a 13 song project. Laddie has 4 EPs plus a full length that's like 4/5 the way done. We've just been shooting music videos for it, so it's like we've been getting some good visuals. The thing that I've learned about like especially in like hip hop artists really want to do visuals more than like the rock world or the punk world. Like the punk world, they don't care that much
No,
about music videos, but in the rap world, it's like, yo, we need a music
yeah,
video. You know what I mean? So it's like we've been making music videos, new music from everyone by the end of the year though. Once we're compiling a lot of music and a lot of content, so once we start, it's just going to be like one person next
yeah,
month, person next month, other person next month. So I don't have an exact date of when that onslaught's going to begin, but like yeah, once we begin, we have a lot of music between the 3 artists. There's probably like 40 to 50 songs between the three of them, just kind of ready to go. You know, that we have releases planned for. We have like kind of the way we're gonna release it. We're just collecting some cover art and some music videos right now.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna definitely stay looking out for that as well. And we've kind of
Yeah,
talked about the other artists too coming on. So yeah, please let me know whenever that happens.
yeah. Yeah, no, and I appreciate you, checking into the label and some of the artists on the label. I'm very proud of these guys. I'm proud of the work they're putting in. I love doing this is because all three of them make three different somewhat sounding hip hop, so it's not the same exact lane, and they all just cover my three favorite, three things that I like. So it's like not only as a business or creative, but as a fan, I literally get to just experience my favorite hip hop being released in real time. And it's just like just that alone like makes me want to open my computer and just keep working.
Keep going, some
You know
motivation.
what I mean? Yeah, because it's just like I got my three favorite lanes of hip hop covered by artists that no one even knows. So my laptop has music that no one even knows exists yet that I've been hearing for months, and I love it.
What kind of shout outs do you have for like could be people on a label, people that, maybe are supporters? What kind of shout outs do you have?
Sure, shout outs. Yeah, we're gonna shout out Ben Roth, John Smith over at the Kaleidoscope. They've helped with Shaw and build us, his sound a lot. I'll just shout out everyone, Shaw, Adrian, and Laddie on the label. Yeah, just kind of shout out to there's a lot of people kind of in Lancaster that's been like really showing love. A lot of people down in Shaw's area in the DMV that's really been showing love. I'm just gonna throw the two cities out as a whole right now. Shout out to everyone who's helped us get shows across the East Coast up to this point. Um, I can't express how helpful that's been. Shout out to every record store that holds any of our merch. Again, can't express how helpful that's been. I could go on the list and list everyone, but it's just kind of a big generic, including all of them, all the record shops, everyone who's helped us get shows, every feature, everyone who just showed love. Just I can't express how thankful I am.
And where can our listeners and viewers find you at on socials?
Yeah, so BigEleanor.com, Big Eleanor on Instagram, and then Laddie Moran, Adrian Rose, and Shaw Calhoun are all the three artists. Uh, be sure to check them out before you look for me.
Okay, okay, yeah, go ahead. Hit Danny with a follow on Instagram. And there's one more question. One more
Yeah.
question.
And when you follow me, send me what you've been listening to. I just want to talk music with everyone. So anyone who reaches out, let me know what you've been listening to.
So the cipher, I got a chance to check that
Yeah.
out. That was pretty dope. That was really dope. Like, how did that whole cipher come about? Like, was this something that y'all do regularly, or you just decided one day to do one?
Yeah, so that actually, when we all started working together, it was one of the first ideas because we have a team meeting every Tuesday. We all make time to get together and just, even if there's nothing pressing, we still just talk, have fun, tell each other what we listen to is not as good as what we listen to. Like, it's just literally, oh, you like Nas, I like Jay-Z, da 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 da. But that was one of the first ideas. Everyone's just like, because they're all rappers at heart, so it's just like we have to do a cipher. It's like we have a team now, you do a cipher. It's just you get a team, you do a cipher. It's what it is. So we just kind of organized that. We're just like, all right, we listened to a bunch of beats and really like kind of honed in and gave everyone a chance like to write their bars and showed up and yeah recorded. It was only a couple takes, but we did it's all one take, so it's like the take that you
That's
see is
awesome.
like from start to finish, like no mess ups or whatever. It's like it's not like we cut or edited. It's like as soon as and we had to do a couple takes because if one person messed up we were like all right do it again and we had to run it all the way from the beginning again. We wanted that like one take. So yeah, yeah, that was just one of the ideas. We had a bunch of good rappers, and we said, "What do you do with a bunch of good rappers? You get a good beat, and you tell them to rap." And do
No,
you know what the beat is?
no, no.
Okay, from the Jericho Jackson album, the Crisis and Elzai album. I don't know
Okay,
if you
yeah,
heard
yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Jericho Jackson. I think the song's called "To Do List," but it's from the Jericho Jackson album,
Okay,
which
okay.
yeah, which is one of my favorite modern underground, modern hip hop albums. I think that album is severely overlooked, and I highly suggest listen to it from start to finish if you haven't recently.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Check that out. That Eleanor Records
yeah,
cipher.
Yeah,
You know,
there's some good lines. Like they be rapping.
they
Like I don't
do,
have
yeah,
a favorite, but Shaw be
yeah.
saying some shit.
I enjoyed
I like, yeah, he's my style of rap. Like he be saying some shit.
it. I can't definitely can't wait to talk to all the artists that was involved in the video and yeah man I appreciate it spending some time with us today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can follow me on Instagram at d._major music. Same thing on TikTok and Threads. And just like the conversation we had today, if you are an artist, producer, looking to come on a podcast, hit me up on any one of those socials and we'll make it happen. Another episode of the Major Music Lounge with D. and Danny Nono of Eleanor Records, and we are
Sir.
out. I'm not Pac, but it's like me against the world. Red is cap like Cube with a Jerry curl. Diamonds and pearls, get the paper, yes, I want it all. They smile in your face with hope for your downfall. They only call during the good times, never bad. Keep it moving, I don't need no new comrades. You sound sad from the outside looking in. That be the reason I don't broadcast my every win.